Hey, how's it going everyone? Teysind here, and today I wanted to talk about, do you consider yourself a video game collector? This is something that, although I've often wanted to talk about it for some time now, obviously relating my experiences to what I think I am, there's recently been quite a few discussions, obviously, in the gaming community, at least sort of the gaming community revolving around the people I watch and my channel and stuff of, do they consider themselves a collector, their thoughts on collecting, as a collector, etc., versus a player and stuff like that. So I want to give sort of my thoughts and my own perspective. So asking myself the question, do I consider myself a collector? No, never. I always have considered myself a player with a collection. And this is something that, I've only, and I always, even now, I always only ever buy games that I want to play. Either I have played them and I want to play them, they're related to a series I want to play, they're a type of genre that I want to play. I'll never buy a game that I don't want to play. And, although it may be something that, there's games out there that maybe I might find cheap that is worth a lot, but I have no interest in purchasing it for that reason. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, because some people obviously, purchase these games and they sell them off more later. I'm generally not the type to want to, sort of invest there. I feel like, well, I'll spend that time working and making my money that way. And it's nothing against people who make money selling games. I think, that's an awesome thing. If you find something cheap that's worth a lot more and you end up making money on it, more power to you. But for me, I'd rather just spend that time looking for something that I want to play. So, how I sort of, in terms of being a player with a collection, it's funny because it was, I'd say maybe in the past 5 years, I actually even considered saying I have a collection. And that was when I went off to uni back in 2010 or so. I moved around a bit by myself, and sort of funny, but I used to bring all my games with me in tubs. Well, when I say my consoles in a tub, or the boxes, because I always keep my game boxes, like my actual boxes that the consoles came in. I mean, but in terms of the games, I actually picked up a McDonald's fries cardboard box. So I don't know what they look like in different countries, but here, it's just a big rectangle box where they usually keep the frozen fries, and they throw the boxes out. And sometimes, you can get the boxes. I made sure I got one that was pristine clean, but I would still lay it with sort of cloth and stuff like that. And I put my games in, travel with me. They'd travel with me in this box. And I used to tape them up. Then when I got somewhere, I untape them and stuff like that. And I just take out the games I want. I always had them ordered, like the PS2s at one part of the box, and the PS1s here, and that was just so I didn't damage things and stuff like that, and they were easy to find. And one day, I actually filled up the box, and it was that moment that I realized I have a collection. Not big, but in terms of something that all of a sudden, oh, now I can't fit any more games that I get into this box. Again, I have a very small collection compared to people, and like I was saying, it's because I always buy just games that I want to play. And obviously Australia, it's also quite expensive to get a lot of these games that I love to play. I mean, games in general, but especially being into this JRPG genre of mine, and a lot of niche JRPGs, especially from older consoles and stuff, they're not the cheapest to get. So either that, or they're not the easiest to find. At least finding an Australian print, very hard to come by. And yeah, so it's just from there, obviously my collection builds. Like I said, I'm not a collector in any way, and I've never seen myself as a collector in terms of like cartridge based games and stuff. Like, at least console cartridge games, I only own four, and that is my Nintendo 64 games. That's Ocarina of Time, my original, Banjo-Kazooie, which I used to own and repurchased, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, and Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. Other than that, it's just all my cartridge Game Boy games that I've owned since a child, that my parents purchased for me. And then, obviously now we're getting into different cartridges with the SD cartridges, the 3DS and stuff like that. But in terms of retro cartridges, yeah, that's all I've owned. And I usually play those games, at least like the SNES games and stuff like that, on the Wii U Virtual Console, up until now at least, and stuff like that. And yeah, a lot of my stuff is all disc-based. I do like to purchase my games physically, so where I can, but obviously cartridge-based games, sometimes they are quite expensive, so I get them digitally. If I ever find the ones that I want, that I own digitally or I don't own at all, for cheap, then I'll get them up, pick them up. So I'd love to, pick up GoldenEye and stuff like that, because that is a childhood game that I've just played so much, and I really want to get that game and play it with friends. Multiplayer on the N64 and stuff like that. Now, saying whether you're a player, collector, or however you like to name yourself, it's a very dynamic question, because it's not just a simple black and white answer. And there are different aspects that sort of someone can generally, maybe as an overview, then say they're a collector or they're this, but it is quite complex. So, there are things in terms of my video game hobbies and stuff that I purchased that I'd like to say I'm a collector of. And one of them being collector's editions, special edition, limited editions. If I do, for games that I really love, if I do find a standard edition quite cheap, but I do know there's a special edition stuff, I generally love to get those special editions. So you could say I'm a bit of a collector of those sort of releases of a game. But in saying that, if I do find the game standard cheap, I generally get it. And maybe later on down the track, if I find a cheap special edition, then I get that. So a good example is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep on the PSP. I bought that back in 2011, really cheap. And it was only just last month, now in 2017, I found a cheap copy of the original special edition for the PSP. So, and it was probably maybe only $5 more or so than the actual original copy I purchased. So I recently purchased a special edition. Now my original edition, I can sell that off or trade it or whatever. So in that sense, I like to collect those editions. Now, I don't just own, in terms of this genre of my hobbies, or at least, here at my spot, there's video games, there's figures, there's anime, there's music. In terms of video game and anime music and stuff like that, there's manga I own. So in terms of all of them as a spectrum, anime, I don't collect anime. I purchase animes that I want to watch or I have watched. And same goes with music. I want to purchase these music CDs so I can listen to the music. And oftentimes it's really hard to find these tracks, at least legally, digitally online here in Australia. So the only way for me to listen to these songs besides YouTube is, purchasing them. So I love to purchase them when I can find them and for a good price. Manga, I want to purchase them because I want to read the official translations where I can and where it's affordable. And I also love just having a book tangible, that's physical, and I can read through it. It's awesome. Now, one thing that I would like to say I'm a collector of, but it's based off my love as a player and the stories and everything that surround it, and a reader, etc., and watcher of anime, and that is figures. I can say I'm a collector of the figures that I own. You can probably see some just above me right here. And yes, I do collect them, Final Fantasy figures, Kingdom Hearts figures, Dragon Ball Z figures. I have some Attack on Titan figures. Let me just have a look what else I've got. A Zoids figure. That's pretty much it. I do have 8 amiibo, some of the original ones. Yes, I'd probably like to say, I'm a collector of, like I said, I wouldn't say I'm just a general collector. I don't just collect every Dragon Ball Z figure out there, every amiibo figure out there, every Final Fantasy figure. So like I said, it's a very dynamic discussion and sort of the topic, and but the ones I do collect are related to characters I love and sort of games that I love and stuff like that. So again, it isn't just a straightforward, yes, I'm a collector, but I don't, figures are hard because generally in terms of like an overall description of what I am, you're a collector, or maybe I guess a displayer or a collector, or you play with the figures, and these are generally not figures you play with in terms of the aspect of figures that you play with as a child and stuff like that. These are ones that you don't want to damage, and they do cost quite a bit of money. So in that regards, yes, I am a collector. But yeah, overall, let me know your thoughts. Do you consider yourself you're a collector or a player? with a collection, or maybe just a player and you go digitally with a lot of things. And not just from the perspective of video games, but there's a lot of things that revolve or sort of extend from them, and other similar interests. Like I was saying, my interest in anime, interest in manga, video game music, and stuff like that. So yeah, please let me know your thoughts down below. Also, even mention maybe, although you're a player and stuff, you're a collector of the boxes and stuff like that. So I've never thrown out any of my console boxes and stuff like that. For me, it's not so much as a collector, it's just, I purchase these and I own these, and these are part of, my memories, getting the consoles and protecting them too. So, they're things I don't want to get rid of, but maybe you purchase, you have consoles, but you didn't get them with the box, so you go out looking for the box to collect them and stuff like that. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sharing, subscribing, and until next video, stay spot on.